Hi guys, in this video we're going to continue building our basketball team class. If you didn't watch the first video on the VBA classes, go watch that one because you're going to need to know that before you watch this one. And also go to Excel VBA Sequel, watch 37 hours of video, take an online live VBA class to become a VBA programmer, and check it out. Okay, so let's go back to our code here. And this is what we did before. We wrote a class, and our class was called basketball team, and we have a property in that class, and we use this private variable to hold the name of our team, and we can set the name of our team. Here's our holder for our team name. We could set that by passing in a name through our name parameter, or we can return it by taking that team name variable and assigning it to the name property. And then we wrote code to do exactly that. Here's code that takes the word Lakers and assigns it to our name property, and it uses the property let name, where we're passing in our parameter here is going to be Lakers. And then this other line of code uses the get name, where when it uses dot name, it just grabs it goes and grabs whatever's stored in there, and it uses this property here. But if you don't know that bit of code up to this point, go watch the first video on VBA classes at excelvbasequel.com under the VBA Microsoft Excel object model. I think it's VBA object models. That's what it's called. Now we're going to add a couple more properties here. So I'm just going to put some comments here. This is our name property. Now, when we went through the first video, I said a class defines an object. Our object is a basketball team, and we just defined it in that video with just one thing, with just a name. We gave it a name. Now let's give it a coach, right? Because a basketball team needs a coach too. So to do that, we're gonna do some things here like before, but a little bit different. So we're gonna have another variable up here called coach, team coach. And let me erase this for now. And it's going to be the same logic. Our basketball team class is going to have a name. Our basketball team is going to have a name and a coach. Our coach, though, is going to be an object in itself. So we're going to do something like that. Dim team coach as new coach. So as I said before just a second ago, our coach of our team is going to be an object in itself, meaning we're going to have to write a class for what a coach is, because by default Microsoft Excel VBA has no idea what a basketball coach is. You have to define that. So let's do that. Let's insert another class module, and let me go to properties over here, and I'm going to just change the name to, instead of class 1, I'm going to say coach. Now I have two classes, a basketball team class that defines what a basketball team is, and a coach class which defines what a coach is. And we're going to write code for what a coach is. And I can take some of this code. I'm just going to copy it and put it here. And I'm going to get this out of here. And I'm going to have in my class that defines what a coach is, I'm going to have a private variable called coach name, and that's going to be a string variable just like before when we defined our basketball team, for our name of our basketball team. And we're still going to have a property for our coach called name. So now we're going to talk about what is a coach. Well, a coach has a name. So we're going to give it our coach object or our coach class. It's going to have a name property. Just like the team had a name property, our coach is going to have a name property. But this time, we're just going to take this, instead of saying team name is equal to name, we're going to have coach name. And instead of returning the name of our team, it's going to return the coach of our team. The coach's name, I guess. Yes. So you see how easy it is to create classes, right? You have properties, and I just copied these properties, created a class called coach, and now I have a class called coach that has a property called name. And now we can go into our code and we can do something like this. VB team.coach. Oops. Oh, so we can't do anything yet. I thought it would be there, but this is good. This is good. It's a good error. I thought I wrote it, but I didn't yet. So we have our coach class. It has a property called name. And I immediately went to code, and I thought I could access the coach property, but I can't, because look, if you click the dot, I only see the name property. That's because if I go to the basketball team, I have a name property here, but I don't have a coach property. So now I want to make that coach property. And up here, I declared a private team coach as coach. Now we want to put the coach in, or put the coach property in. So I can do this. Get coach as coach, and let coach as coach. So this is very similar to what we saw in the first video, only I'm creating a different property called the coach property. And all this is going to do is return the coach of our team, or set the coach of our team. So I have this private variable called team coach, and it's of type coach. And this new here is just saying set it, here's a variable defined as a coach, but then set it to a new coach object. So if we go back over here, you know how these two lines declare a basketball team object and then set the basketball team object we just declared to a new basketball team? Well, that could be done in one line if you just put the word new here. It's not common to do it that way, but when you're over here, basketball team, you want to do that, because in the same line you're declaring a coach object and you're setting it to be a coach object. So all this does is declare a private coach object. The name of it is team coach. Then in our coach property, we can get that team, we can get whatever's stored in there by doing this, using this get property, get coach property, and we can set whatever's stored in this team coach using this property here, this let coach. So just like before in the first video, we saw that we can set the property and find out what its value is. So here's where we set the property, and here's where we find out its value. That's for the name of our team. Now we want to do the same thing for our coach. We want to set the coach here, and we want to find out who is the coach here. That's all these properties are doing. So now when I go back to code, I can do something like this, bb team dot. Now look what happens. I have two properties here. One is named coach, and the other is name. So I'm going to use coach, and I'm going to set the coach. Oops. So what can I do now? Because this property is of type, remember what this is. Remember what's going on here. This property, coach, is right here, right? Here's the coach property. But how is it defined? It's defined as a coach object. What does that mean? Well, that means it has all the properties, subprocedures, and functions that are stored in here. You see how this works? So the basketball team has two properties. One of them is name, one of them is coach. The name property is simply a string variable. But the coach property is an instance of the coach class. Right here, you could see. It's an instance of the coach class. That means it has these properties that are stored here. And in that case, we have only one. And that is the name of our coach. Remember, we wrote this code. So when we go back here, we can access that property, coach.name, using the dot operator here. And we can set it equal to, I don't even know the Lakers coach. I'm just going to put Pat Riley for now. And let's see how this works. Well, let's also put message box in here. So now let's do what we did before, but let's follow this through. Let's step through and see what happens. So I declare a basketball team object. I set that object to a new basketball team. That means that an object, the basketball team, is now an object, right? Before this line, we just had a class. Now, because we're using memory on your computer, that's what this line does. It uses memory on your computer. So now we have an actual object on your computer in memory taking up space, however many bytes. Now as we step through, we're going to set the coach property, right? Let's go back here. So oops. So we have an error here, and that error is because if I run this, it says object variable or with block not set. And if you click debug, it goes to this line, and if we step through right here, we get an error. And that's because this is a common error. We're not using this keyword set. So what does that mean? Why is that there? When you have primitive variables like strings, integers, doubles, dates, longs, variants, you don't need to use the word set. Notice up here, team name is a string. So we could take something and assign it to team name. But when we have an object, any type of object, and what do I mean object? I mean this coach is an object. It's an instance of coach class. When we have that, we need to use the set keyword. And similarly down here, because team coach is a object, it's a coach object, we need to have the set keyword. So now we can run our code, And when we do that, step through, we want to take Pat Riley and put it into the coach's name. So what happens first? First thing that happens is we're in the basketball class, basketball team class, and we're assigning. Actually, we're getting the coach object right here. Whatever's in team coach, we are going to get whatever's in that variable. So let me just put a watch on here. So if I bring this up a little bit, you're going to notice that team coach is just blank. There's nothing in it. There's nothing in it for the coach name, and there's nothing in it for the name property, right? And what are these things? These are the variables. Here's the variable, the private variable in this coach class, and this is the name property in that coach class. And when you first run this, the coach, it hasn't been set yet. And as you step through, you are going to we were here, right? Why were we right here? We were right there because this is critical, because we use this right here. Okay? That thing I have highlighted, the dot coach, that called this bit of code. Oops. This code right here. Because the dot coach says, go get me the coach. And it did. It went and got the coach because whatever was stored in our coach object, it assigned it to our coach property. And then it saw this dot name. So it got the coach, and then it wants to get the name property, and that's where we're at right now. So if I step through, now we're in this class, and it's setting the property. If I put a watch on this, Pat Riley is being passed in. There's Pat Riley being passed in. There it is, it's this parameter name variable. And it's going to populate this coach name right here. That's a private variable, coach name. When I do that, now coach name, if I put a watch on this, is Pat Riley. That's what coach name is. And step through, now what happened is Pat Riley was assigned as the name of our coach. And to see that, we can go and access that again, access that name here by, watch this, again, we're back here in this get coach property of the basketball team class. And it goes and gets the coach. Notice that, put a watch on this. The coach name and the name are Pat Riley. I put a watch twice, so I can delete this one. But I want to show you that right now the code is stopped, and we're right here at this line. But right here, you can see that the coach has been assigned Pat Riley. And as we step through, it's going to get the name using this get name property of the coach class. And if we step through, there's Pat Riley in a message box. And then this bit of code is from the first video, but I'm going to stop it here to just walk you through that again. So what happened here was, we did basketball team, BB team dot coach. What that did is it went here and we got the coach using here. And once we have the coach assigned here, we can then access its name. And the name comes from this property, or we can set the name using this property here. So I hope you see what's going on here is that, this bit of code is stored in this class. That's where the coach property is. The coach property of the basketball team object is in this bit of this class here, the basketball team class. But then this bit of code is a name property in the coach class. So now we have two classes working in one line of code. So here's one line of code, but there's a lot going on. We're going into this class, the basketball team class, and we're using this property to get the coach. And then in order to get the name of that coach, we're going into that class and getting its name, the coach's name. So let's take a look at the object browser let's just let me just do a thing here. So what I wanted to say here is that this code uses that, and this code uses so this is in the coach class. And this down here is in the basketball team class. But the interesting thing about up here is that in order to get to this coach class, you first have to go to the basketball team class, right? And this is what's tricky about the Excel object model is that you can have properties. This coach is a property that has properties. That's what's tricky about Excel VBA is that you can see a lot of these dots. Every time you see a dot, you're accessing a property or a sub-procedure or an event on an object. And it could go on for a long time. You can see dot, blah, 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 dot, blah, 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 dot. Each time you do that, you're going further, you're going into other classes. And you could see that here, right? We're using two classes here. A basketball team class that has a property called coach. We access that property with this dot. So now we're dealing with a coach object. And that has that object is of this coach class. And that coach class has a property called name. And we access that name property using this dot. Okay, so that's what I wanted to show in this video. And if we, stepping through it is the best way to see what's happening. And I'm going to end the video shortly, but let's just step through it again because this is really the best way to learn what the hell is going on in Excel VBA and what is an object, what is a class. So let's just step through again. I have a basketball team class. It defines what a basketball team is, and I wrote the code to do it. We saw it in the other video and in this video. And as soon as I step through this line, I'm going to have memory on my computer is going to be occupied. There's going to be a certain size of that memory is going to be occupied for a basketball team object. So the object comes into existence in this line. Before this line, we just had a class. We just had our classes. Now we have an object right there. This creates an object, this line of code. With that object, I can access properties of the object, or subprocedures and functions and blah, 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 events. But now we're going to access a property, and the property is called coach. So how do I know we're going to access that properties? Because here's the first thing after our object is this dot coach. Right? And what can we access? We can access two properties, the name of our team or the coach of our team. So I selected coach here. So now we can access the coach. When we step through this, so here we are in the basketball team class accessing the coach property using the get coach. We go get the coach using the coach property. And we set our coach, initially equal to nothing, because team coach had, this variable team coach had nothing in it. But then, now that we have a coach object, we can set its name. And we do that here. So we just went from getting the coach, and the coach was blank. It didn't have a name. But now we're able to set its name, set the coach's name using this name property. And right there, we just set the coach's name. So this is sort of getting the coach, so that getting the coach, or more specifically, getting the coach object. And then this is, okay, now we have a coach object, we can play around with the name of the coach. Or if I put other properties in there like where the coach is from, or his history, or his win-loss record. But this gets the coach object. This bit of code gets the coach object. This bit of code gets, the property called name of the coach. Or actually, it sets the property of the name of the coach. And here, we're going to get the name of the coach. And again, before we get the name and put it in a message box using that bit of code, we have to have a coach object to work with. So we need this bit of code here. We need to get a coach. So again, we're going to go to coach. There we go, get the coach. That's in the basketball team class. Now we're going to go to the coach class after we get the coach. And we're going to get the name of the coach right there. And then there's Pat Riley. So the tricky thing about this video is that you're going between these two classes in one line of code. In here, in that short amount of code, you're doing a lot. And you just saw that we're doing a lot because I was stepping through the code line by line. If we keep stepping through, if I just run this, from the last video, we saw that the name of our team is Lakers. And let me bring this Project Explorer up. So in the first video, this bit of code is pretty easy to understand. If I just step through this, oops. If I bring the yellow arrow down there and step through this is easy to understand, right? I have a team name, and I'm just setting the name of the team. And there I'm done, then I'm getting the name of the team. Okay? So that's easy to understand, and if it's not easy, go watch the first video because we walk through it. But essentially, the name property of our team is just this right here. Right? The tricky thing about this code here is that the property is actually an object of another class. Is actually an object. So you can see here, this property, coach, is actually an object. What kind of object is it? It's a coach object, which means we can then access all these properties, whatever's in this class here. That's the tricky thing about the object model, is that when you use that dot operator, sometimes you're going to deal with simple things like a string variable like this, right? The name of our team is a string. It's Lakers. Up here, we were accessing a coach property, which is an object. It's not a string, and that has properties. So sorry to belabor this, but I think it's one of the most confusing things in the Excel object model. But hopefully you see now that what's going on, and actually stepping through it line by line and seeing what happens first. Like the first time we go here, and then immediately after that we're summoned to this class, because that's what this line of code does, right? Okay, so sorry to belabor this point, but you're really seeing what's going on behind the scenes when you're doing stuff like this in Excel VBA, or even the most crazy stuff you see in Excel VBA. Behind the scenes, the object model looks like this. You have an object. It can have properties, subprocedures, and methods. You can access them using the dot operator, and then that property might be an object itself, which then is going to have all kinds of other properties or things like that. Let me know if this is useful at all. I think it is, but let me know if it's not. Please let me know. In the next video, we're going to add players, and we're going to add, instead of adding properties to our basketball team class, we're going to add a subprocedure to our basketball team class, so that next time in the next video, instead of just having two things here, we're going to have another thing here that's not going to be a property. It's going to be a subprocedure. And we'll take a look at that in the next video. So until then, check out Excel VBA SQL and let me know what you think.